So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a trade recap of the trade that I took on Tesla yesterday, which was Tuesday, December 14th. I took the pre-market low break for a very quick scalp. I was only in the trade for 1 minute and made $1,460. And if you don't know by now, Tesla is my favorite stock to scalp. The reason why I like it is because in times of heightened volatility, whether it be to the upside or the downside, if I'm on the right side of it, I can get big moves really quick. And even on smaller size, 3 to 5 contracts, I can make great money, and today's a good example of that. Now let's get into the newsletter watch list. I was looking at Tesla, Nvidia, Cost, Baba, and Square. And to the left of that, this is the picture of my private Twitter. This is what I'm posting 30 minutes before the market open each day. It's $29 a month. If you're interested in having access to it, there's going to be a link in the description below. I post the newsletter, which is going to be the stocks that I'm watching and why, as well as a little analysis of the overall market at the top, the SPY and the Qs. And then I take a picture of those charts with the green level to the upside that I'm interested in long, the red level to the downside that I'm interested in short. And then at the very top of the tweet, I make sure to put all those names and then highlight the main upside level and the downside level. So it's very organized, and you have my game plan of how I'm going to approach the market each day without all the noise or distractions. So feel free to check it out if interested. So now let's get into the technicals. We'll start with Tesla. So just looking at the daily chart, realizing that 950 was a big area of support. That was not a great candle the prior day. It closed below the 50 SMA. It's below the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA on the daily. And it had an open downside gap at 910. So I was thinking if it could take out pre-market low and then remain weak, that it could get some selling pressure and possibly close that gap at 910. So my main focus to the downside was going to be pre-market low. And then if for some reason this dip wanted to get bought, wasn't really excited about going long, but if it took out pre-market high and started to trend, then I didn't want to fight that. Now Nvidia, and the reason why I was watching this is because that was a pretty nasty candle the prior day, below the 9 EMA, below the 20 SMA. It was trading below this prior support area, which was 280.38. So I thought if the market was weak and if it broke pre-market low, I thought it had room down to the 50 SMA on the daily. So pre-market low was the main level that I was looking at to the downside. And then as far as the upside, if for some reason the dip wanted to get bought and it took out pre-market high, just being open-minded to the upside as well. Now Costco, and the reason why I like this is because it's consolidating close to all-time highs, showing relative strength compared to the overall market. If it took out that prior day high, 559.75, it had an all-time high above 561.27. So those are the main levels I was looking at to the upside. If it makes a new all-time high, maybe it has a chance to follow through, and I want to be a part of that move. And then as far as the downside level, I was looking at prior day low, 547.98. If it took out the low of that green candle, I felt like it could get some selling pressure. And now Alibaba, and the reason why I was watching this is because it did have a nice move higher recently, but the 9 EMA has continued to be resistance. A little bit of a weak candle the prior day, but because the overall market has been weak recently, I thought if it takes out kind of pre-market low and prior day low, then it possibly could continue trend to the downside. So the main level I was focused on to the downside was going to be pre-market low. And if for some reason this wanted to get bought, just knowing where pre-market high was, if it takes out pre-market high, starts to trend, then being open-minded to the upside as well. And now Square, and the reason why this was on my watch list is because it was pretty weak. It's below the 9 EMA, handful of red days in a row, and it was coming up to this prior support area, this 170.75. It actually broke that in the pre-market. So I was thinking that if the overall market was weak and it broke pre-market low, maybe you could have more follow through to the downside. And then if for some reason the dip wanted to get bought, just knowing where pre-market high was in case it wanted to take that out and continue to the upside. And now I quickly want to highlight Alibaba because this is a good example showing about reaction versus having this bias and then wanting that bias to work out, especially as a scalper, reacting to price action and the key levels that I always talk about, pre-market high and low, prior day high and low, is how I try to find trades each day. So just going over Alibaba. So pre-market low, and then pre-market high. So the high is going to be green, the low is going to be red. So what happened? It failed to break pre-market low, and then look at this huge move higher. So even though from the daily chart, I thought that this had a chance to sell off. So getting the idea from the daily, the bigger picture, but then the short-term price action told me at least on a shorter time frame for now, it wanted to do something different. And then it came up to this pre-market high, it took out pre-market high, and look at this insane move higher it had after the fact. And there was even some nice flag patterns here. So there were some decent setups on Baba, and I thought that this was going to sell off, but then once it clears pre-market high, that lets me know that it probably doesn't want to do it today, and then that's when I have to be able to, as a trader, kind of flip my bias and then think, all right, well, maybe this is a long. Now let's wait for the pattern that I like to look for. And the patterns that I like are opening range breaks and flag patterns. And then Alibaba did form a couple flags to the upside. It even did have a third flag up here, but this is starting to get a little extended. I know that if I'm good and I don't want to chase, I should be able to take advantage of these two flags, but this third one that was formed up there, a little too extended for me. And I didn't trade this because I had a really nice one and done on Tesla. And when I can make nice money off the open very quick, I take my hands off the keyboard and the mouse because I do not want to mess a good thing up. But this is a really good example of reacting to the price action, listening to the technical levels, and then waiting for the patterns that I like to form, the opening range break and the flag pattern, and Alibaba did provide some nice opportunities. It's not easy as traders to be able to flip bias, but I think that's the most important thing. Have an idea when it comes to the bigger picture, but then let the price action tell you what it wants to do on a shorter time frame. All right, so now let's get into the Tesla trade. So just to go over what happened off the open. Big push higher off the open. It was above the VWAP, above the 9 EMA, but then look at this nasty rejection right into that 950, 952 area, and then this engulfing candle. So it's starting to take back anybody who bought into this green candle, and then it's very quickly forming a range right at 952 and then the low. So I was thinking if it could break the low of day, also knowing that, look at that, pre-market low is very close. So when those levels can line up close like that, high a day, low a day, and then there's pre-market high just above, pre-market low just below, I really like that setup. I'm going to try to anticipate the break, and then when it does break, I think that there's going to be follow through. And then like always, I want to see it go quick or get out. If it starts to bounce or stops going lower and then vice versa, starts to pull back and stops going higher, I'm just going to take those quick profits. So that's a pretty nasty reversal candle that's starting to form. It got back below VWAP and the 9 EMA. So this really is a 2-minute opening range break to the downside. And then the moment it started to speed up a little bit right there, I got short right around 937. I ended up taking the 935 put, so the next strike just out of the money, and I got filled at $25, and I took 5 of them. So it breaks low of day, it breaks pre-market low, it starts to speed up, and I wanted to be patient with this, but I started to notice that it found support right around 930 to 932, and it just was not going as fast as I wanted to see it go. When Tesla breaks those key levels, it has insane follow through. So the moment that it starts to get held up right around 932, I'm already slightly skeptical and I want to make sure to be careful. Being that my entry is at 25, I'm not going to let these contracts go red. So I'm nicely in the money and I just want to see if it has a chance to get below that 932, 930 area. And then if so, maybe it could fill the downside gap, but it just cannot break. And when I'm seeing that Tesla kind of sticks to an area a little too long, I don't want to be caught in a reversal to the other side and it go against me. I know I was nicely up on the position, so I just sold the contracts right there and I got out at $27.92 for a really nice move. Remember, if for some reason Tesla sets up again, maybe it forms a nice flag pattern to the downside, I can always take the setup again. And this is a great example of why I constantly like to take quick profits. So it formed the pattern, 2-minute opening range break, took out the low a day, also broke the technical level pre-market low, which was just below. And I really wanted to see this go further. I wanted a huge winner. But when this stopped going lower right around 930, 932 and started to bounce, I just got out of it. Imagine if I was stubborn and I tried to hold my winner, this would have ended up being a big loser. And after that trade on Tesla, I was done for the day. I do not want to mess a good thing up. I was in that trade for 1 minute and ended up making $1,460, which is an awesome green day. That was the trade recap. Appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.